Good morning, good morning, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, everybody. I came by here this morning to share some thoughts. I read a headline this morning that TakeOff, a rapper with the group Migos, was shot and killed yesterday. Guess the report is that it was a dice game that went bad and people were shooting and he inadvertently got shot. Now, there has been a slew of black rappers who have been killed at the hand of gun violence, or by the hand of gun violence, over 2022. I was reading a statistic earlier. It says in large cities, black Americans make up 68% of homicide victims. I'm going to say that again. In large cities, black Americans make up 68% of homicide victims. We have a problem. I was reading, it says that there's about 30 deaths in the black community every day in America. That's crazy statistics. And so when you and I continue to see as black people, as we continue to see these kinds of deaths, it enacts a certain level of grief, right? You grieve and you mourn the life of these persons. Although you may not have never met them, never seen them, it causes grief to be onset. And so in some way, you and I have to be aware of the aspects of grief. And this is something we don't really talk about in the black community, and that's how we actually grieve. Grief strikes us because, number one, we die earlier than most groups of people. We are also affected by the major illnesses that affect people and take their life. For instance, we lead in every major category: heart attack, stroke, cancer, all of this. And some of us have lived through the reality of seeing our family members decline, lose their health. That's grief. And we usually don't have the tools in our communities to be able to process as well as to handle grief. You see it in multiple ways. You see it in your own personal life. Your grandma dies at 50 and 60 years old, where other people groups, their grandma die at 85, 90. Then most of us have family members who died of heart attack young, died of cancer young, died of stroke young. Then you have, not only that, you have gun violence, where people are being shot and killed. Then you have drugs, where people are dying of overdose, fentanyl, opioids, crack, all the rest. And so we're constantly bombarded with grief. And then not only that, we're bombarded with the images of grief. Black grief is plastered all over the news. You're going to see that today. You're going to see uh, all the news outlets, TMZ, CNN, all the rest of them, all day long. He's going to show you this black man. He's going to show you the video of him being shot, laying on the ground, bleeding. And those images are going to be stuck in your mind. So how are you going to process that? How do you process that? How do you deal with the feelings that they bring up? You and I need some real tangible effect. There are stages of grief. You go through, it's usually 5 stages of grief, right? There's the anger, and then there's the shock, there's the denial, there's the bargaining, and then there's finally acceptance. But over this last year, we have continually seen this play out, this cycle of grief. And we have to have a conversation with our community, man. What are we going to do to lessen the gun violence in our community? What are we going to do to close the gap with health disparities? Man, it's real out here, man. There's economic apartheid. There's you know gentrification. There's uh, genocide. We killing our own people. You know, even by the stuff we eat, the things we drink. How is it 2022 and black people still eating a whole lot of pork? Like, come on, man. You know, like, can we choose various options to help prolong our life? You know, is street life, gang life, the best life that you can choose? And for those of us who are in positions of influence, we have to be able to model and expose people to better ways on conflict management, better ways on how to prolong and sustain your life, better ways of how to have a community that we can have fresh for grocery stores to be in our neighborhoods. Man, we got work to do. And if we just become so acculturated to the fact that black men are going to die by the hands of guns, that's a problem. This should not be normalized. It's not normal to continue to die and see heroes of our community die by the hands of guns. Look at what happened to Malcolm X. Look at what happened to Martin Luther King. We keep seeing these things over and over again. And I'm saying, man, we have to do something better. But then on the other side, you got to know how to process grief. There is a way, there are steps that you need to understand how you grieve, because collectively we grieve. These persons are considered to be heroes or persons who we look up to in the community. To be individuals who persons will want to be like. So there's at least 5 stages of grief. There's anger, there's bargaining, there's shock, there is denial, and then finally acceptance. So, you know, Google the 5 stages of grief and see how we can grieve as a community. Get your feelings out there. Get it out, man. Talk it out. Have some constructive conversations around conflict management. Have some constructive conversations about, you know, how is it that we keep seeing all these people dying by the hands of gun violence? It's just continuous. And these things send us as a community into the cycle of grief. So family, man, I'm praying for you. I'm praying for your mental health. This is really important, especially as we're entering the holidays. And they call this time of the year seasonal affective disorder, right? So seasonal affective disorder. You start thinking about your loved ones, your grandma, your mom, your cousin, all the people that's not going to be at the dinner table at Thanksgiving and at Christmas, right? So you got to be aware of the times we're in. The season affective disorder, the black grief, what you experiencing, how you feeling. Get it out, man. Express it. Have some constructive conversations, and then see how we can lift up our community, man, in some real, tangible ways. Because we, as a community, I'm talking about black community, continue to go through this cycle of grief. Man, I'm praying for your mental health. Process this loss, and not on this loss, all the others. Personalities that we see, and man, we haven't even talked about Kanye West yet. That's a whole nother thing. But man, Google the 5 stages of grief. Figure out how to process this loss, other losses in your life, so that you can have some tangible tools to help you. All right, peace and blessing. Thank you for listening. God bless.